Why do we play with toys? This is a question nearly every story about toys has to answer, at least to some degree. After all, you can't write a story about the importance of toys without knowing why your characters play with them in the first place. We've all grown up with toys, played make-believe with them, hugged them when we were sad, and even had a favorite that we could never let go of. Hell, many of you watching probably still play with toys, or got back into it at some point in your adulthood. So did I. I have a giant teddy bear named Paddington whom I watch movies with. Nobody will ever take him away from me. When people think of stories where toys come to life, they usually think of Toy Story. But this video actually begins way before that in 1921, with a story by Marjorie Williams published in Harper's Bazaar. That story was The Velveteen Rabbit, or How Toys Become Real. A pretty appropriate place to begin this video, I would think. Now, the story would then get published as its own book in 1922, and since then, it has never been out of print. The book follows a toy rabbit made of velveteen that's gifted to a young boy during Christmas. The rabbit longs to be real, and is told by the oldest toy in the nursery, "Real isn't how you are made, it's a thing that happens to you." When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. This quote from the Skin Horse offers a pretty great foundation for this retrospective, because a child's love is the most common theme that these Toys to Life stories have in common. By the end of the book, the Velveteen Rabbit is loved by his little boy owner so much that when he's thrown away to be burnt, because he was with the boy when he got scarlet fever, he cries an actual tear. And from that tear springs a fairy who turns him into a real-life rabbit. "Wasn't I real before?" asked the little rabbit. "You were real to the boy," the fairy said, "because he loved you. Now you shall be real to everyone." There are a lot of adaptations of the story. Like, a lot. For my money, I really like the 2023 version that's on Apple TV+. That one made me cry pretty hard, especially during this line.
"Look at you, for heaven's sake. Look how worn out with love you are."
I'm sorry, I just need a moment.
Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
In 1961, the Twilight Zone released their 14th episode of their third season, 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. It's about 5 characters who are stuck in a room and in search of an exit. It's a very accurate title, I guess. Basically, this odd bunch of characters have no memory of who they were before they found themselves trapped in this doorless room.
I assure you that though I may wear the costume of a clown, I have no recollection whatsoever of having been one.
And the only exit they can find is a circular one above them.
Hey up there! Let us out! Let us out of here!
So they try and try to climb out all the way above, until one of them finally gets out, and...
Someone must have dropped. Oh, thank you, dear. And just drop that in the barrel over there, will you?
They were toys this whole time. Once again, the story ends with the mention of a child's love.
Perhaps they are unloved only for the moment. In the arms of children, there can be nothing but love.
But several questions still remain unanswered. Like, why did these toys think they were human beings? Why did they lose all their memories and sense of self when they got dropped into the donation bin? What are the rules regarding their movement? After all, they move like humans before the big twist, but are suddenly stiff as plastic after. So did this whole episode even happen, or was it all just symbolic? And if it was all symbolic, then what was this episode even about? Like any good Twilight Zone episode, it's all up to interpretation. But my take has always been that the main purpose of a toy is to be loved. So when the characters got dropped into the donation bin, and therefore were abandoned by their owners, that's when these toys lost the love of a child, and their sense of self along with it. And ultimately, it's a metaphor, albeit a weak one, for the importance of the relationships in our lives, and how other people help us become who we are. But really though, someone donated a tramp doll to the View Park Girls' Home. Speaking of twist endings, have you ever heard of a song with a twist ending?
Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yes, the 1963 Puff the Magic Dragon song is one of those songs. The first 2 stanzas describe the great adventures of a boy named Jackie Paper and his dragon friend Puff. And it's all fun and friendship and kings and pirates and stuff. By the way, I can't play the original song due to fear of copyright, so with permission from her, I will be playing Ellis Piper's beautiful cover instead.
Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff, and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff.
Then the third stanza comes in and wham! Puff was a toy dragon all along, Jackie Paper grows up and forgets all about him, and you are now in a puddle of your own tears.
Painted wings and giant springs made
Jackie Paper, you jerk. You are the dictionary definition of a fake friend. Some people think Jackie Paper died in the third stanza, but I think he just grew up. I mean, in the picture book, he does come back as an adult with his daughter, so there's that, but that will mean he still went through at least 30 years without talking to Puff. So yeah, still a jerk. No, of course not. Jackie's not a jerk. As adults, I think many of us relate to both Jackie and Puff in this song. With Puff, we've all had those friends or family members who grew apart from us, even when it felt like there was no reason for them to from our side. This is especially true for our relationships with our younger cousins, or siblings, or even children. Because while your adult life may not feel all that different when going from year to year, childhood and teenagehood are crazy wild and crazy fast time periods. Who someone is at 12 could be very different from who they are at 13 or 14. But at the same time, like Jackie Paper, we've all gone through that ourselves. We've all had that toy we stopped playing with one day without even realizing it. That favorite book series we stopped reading the new releases of. That neighbor friend we gradually stopped talking with and playing with. That classmate we lost contact with after they moved away. Turns out a lot of growing up is simply saying goodbye. Some we say out loud and some we don't.
A dragon lives forever, but not so little boys.
We all grow up to be Jackie Paper. And we all grow up to be Puff. I should also mention that there was a TV cartoon adaptation of the song, one that aired in 1978 on CBS. But in it, Puff is not a toy but an actual dragon, and Jackie is not his lifelong friend but someone he meets when Jack is like 11. So we should probably just stick with the song for this video. In the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the fact that the characters are toys barely plays into the story at all. Heck, if you remove the opening scene of this film, you might not even realize these characters are meant to be toys.
Like most small boys, Christopher Robin has toy animals to play with, and they all live together in a wonderful world of make-believe.
Still, I think the framing device of this movie taking place in Christopher Robin's imagination really adds a layer of whimsy and charm to the story. Or rather, stories, since The Many Adventures is actually a combination of 3 short Winnie the Pooh films, with some added extra content to tie everything together and bring the film to a close. The 100-Acre Wood is essentially Christopher's happy place. The place he drifts off to whenever he wants to have fun, play pretend, and be with his close friends, especially his best friend Winnie the Pooh. And while the 3 short films are great, the scene that sticks with me the most is the ending scene, where Christopher Robin starts going to school.
Time had come at last. Christopher Robin was going away to school.
And has to say goodbye to Winnie the Pooh.
And so we come to the last chapter, in which Christopher Robin and Pooh come to the enchanted place. And we say goodbye.
Yes, just like Jackie Paper, Christopher Robin has to grow up and go to school and all that boring stuff.
You know something, Pooh? I'm not going to do just nothing anymore.
You mean never again?
Well, not so much.
Unlike Jackie though, Christopher doesn't just forget Pooh or leave without saying goodbye.
Pooh? When I'm away just doing nothing, will you come up here sometimes?
You mean alone? Just me?
Yes.
In a strange way, this movie's ending feels like a wonderful band-aid to the sadness of Puff the Magic Dragon's ending, because it ends with the comforting belief that no matter how old we grow, or how long we stop playing with them, our toys will always be there waiting for us, ready to play with us again like old times when the time is right.
Wherever they go, and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on top of the forest, a little bear will always be waiting.
There are a bajillion sequels to this film, including a pretty unmemorable live-action one starring Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the one I especially like is the 2011 theatrical film, simply titled Winnie the Pooh. That sequel was one incredibly whimsical film, even if it did include a scene of decapitation through cannibalism.
He's just made of honey, so I guess I'll eat him too.
Yikes. On November 18, 1985, the very first Calvin and Hobbes comic strip was printed, and it was this one. 2 days later saw the release of this strip, and it's the first time we see Hobbes in a stuffed toy form, specifically when Calvin's dad is in the room. The dad leaves, and Hobbes magically turns into a real tiger, which begs the question, what exactly is going on here? Is this like Toy Story, where Hobbes only comes alive around Calvin alone? Is Hobbes only alive in Calvin's imagination? Is Calvin even aware that Hobbes is a toy? Or did the Robot Chicken spoof have some truth to it?
That's just a stuffed animal.
No, it's not. He's real.
Well, no to the Robot Chicken one. Numerous characters have called Hobbes a toy to Calvin's face, and Calvin doesn't deny it in the slightest. It seems more like Calvin doesn't make a distinction between a stuffed tiger and a real tiger. To him, they're both tigers. Hobbes is as real to Calvin as any favorite toy is to a kid. According to Bill Watterson himself, I don't think of Hobbes as a doll that miraculously comes to life when Calvin's around. Neither do I think of Hobbes as the product of Calvin's imagination. Calvin sees Hobbes one way, and everyone else sees Hobbes another way. I show two versions of reality, and each makes complete sense to the participant who sees it. I think that's how life works. This comic strip in particular illustrates that point. Hobbes is a toy in the first panel, then a real tiger in the second one, then back to a toy again when the dad talks to him, and finally, a real tiger when the dad leaves. Calvin sees Hobbes one way, and everyone else sees Hobbes another way. For many of the strips, Hobbes the tiger is the companion that Calvin the little boy needs, as he navigates the strange, fun, scary experience we all call childhood. Despite its legacy, and despite interest from big names like Steven Spielberg, Jim Henson, and George Lucas, Calvin and Hobbes never had an adaptation of any kind. According to Watterson, I have zero interest in animating Calvin and Hobbes. As a comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes works exactly the way I intended it to. There's no upside for me in adapting it, as he was famously against the commercialization of his beloved script. On a completely unrelated note from over-commercialization, let's talk about Disney.
To infinity and beyond!
In 1995, Disney and Pixar would release a film that would change the world of Western animation forever. Toy Story is one of those movies that just can't be separated from its legacy, much to Disney's sequel-loving benefit. Aside from being the very first computer-animated feature film, as well as the first entry of Pixar's well-respected feature filmography, it is also the first title people think of when thinking about the toys coming to life genre. If you are a film or book or show about talking toys released after the year 1995, you will be compared to Toy Story. The iconic movie sees Woody, a toy cowboy owned and loved by a kid named Andy, grow feelings of jealousy when Andy becomes obsessed with a new toy, a spaceman named Buzz. Despite Andy being obsessed with him though, Buzz doesn't realize he's a toy in the slightest, which is a plot hole everyone on the internet has brought up and no one has given a satisfactory answer to. At least, in my opinion. The easy answer would be that toys just can't move when the humans are around, but that's proven false later in the film.
So play nice.
Some say Buzz freezes around Andy because he picked up the habit from all the toys around him, but that's also ridiculous. Because wouldn't he also pick up on the fact that he's surrounded by toys? And that the giant child who wrote his name on his shoe also does nothing but play with him? The most likely explanation is that it's just a plot hole. One that's there so the movie can happen. Which I'm all for, given how it leads to some of the best jokes in the film.
Revenge is not an idea we promote on my planet.
Oh, well, that's good.
But we're not on my planet, are we?
No.
And you, my friend, are responsible for delaying my rendezvous with Star Command. You are a toy! Excuse me, I think the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there's preschool toys present.
If there were no preschool toys around, what do you think Woody would have said?
Excuse me, I think the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
Of course, Buzz does eventually find out he's a toy, and has an existential crisis about it, but comes around at the end after Woody gives him a speech about how awesome it is to be loved by a kid and be a kid's toy.
Whoa, hey, wait a minute. Being a toy is a lot better than being a space ranger.
Yeah, right.
No, it is. Look, over in that house is a kid who thinks you are the greatest, and it's not because you're a space ranger, pal. It's because you're a toy. You are his toy.
Is that so, Woody? Is being owned by a kid really the greatest thing in the toys universe? Wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Focus on the first film for now. As a toy owner, Andy is, above all, a storyteller. His favorite way of playing is creating imaginary short films with his toys.
Alright, everyone, this is a stick-up!
In Toy Story, toys are viewed less as personified playmates, and more as creative outlets. Andy doesn't talk to his toys the way Jackie, Calvin, and Christopher Robin do. Instead, Andy views them as characters in his stories, even going so far as to steal his sister's lamp decor, so his screenplays can have a romantic interest.
Quiet, Bo Peep, or your sheep get run over! Help! Help us! Oh no, not my sheep! Somebody do something!
And he should really think about becoming a director, given his creativity. Maybe he goes to film school in the third film. 3 years later, Toy Story 2 is released, and is considered by many to be one of the rare sequels that surpasses the original. I am one of those people. In my eyes, Toy Story 2 is easily the best entry in the franchise, and I don't see that opinion being changed anytime soon. It's funny.
Drop! I said drop! Go!
It's emotional, it's got likable characters, and it explores its themes most successfully out of all the Toy Story films. In this sequel, Woody's arm gets ripped during another filming session with director Andy. So Andy decides to leave in his room instead of bringing him to cowboy camp. When Andy is gone and Woody accidentally becomes part of the family's yard sale, he gets stolen by Al from Al's toy barn because, turns out, he's actually an expensive collector's item from an old canceled show called Woody's Roundup. Which is a plot point that always bugged me about Toy Story in 3 and 4, by the way.
Maybe sell them online? Mom, no one's gonna want those old toys. They're junk.
I know none of these characters are toy collectors or anything, but the fact that Woody's financial worth is never brought up again after this sequel, not even by the toys themselves, feels like a cop-out. Don't the writers realize how much these clearly struggling families could benefit from that kind of money? But back to Toy Story 2. At Al's house, Woody meets Pete, Bullseye, and Jessie, all of whom are absolutely excited to finally be displayed at a Tokyo museum.
Look at us! We're a complete set!
Now it's on to the museum!
Museum?
Woody, however, wants nothing more than to be back at Andy's house, which frustrates Jessie and leads to the most sob-worthy scene of the film.
You never forget kids like Emily or Andy, but they forget you.
You know, Emily and Jackie Paper should meet. I'm sure they have a lot of kid jerk commonalities to talk about. No, of course not. Emily is, again, just a kid. And like all kids, she grows up to find new things to be obsessed about and forget about all the things she once loved. The inevitability of children growing up is a big theme in this movie. As one of the things that initially convinces Woody to then stay is the fear of Andy outgrowing him like Emily did Jessie.
How long will it last, Woody? Do you really think Andy is going to take you to college? Or on his honeymoon?
But that doesn't last, of course. Buzz finds Woody and tells him,
"Somewhere in that pat of stuffing is a toy who taught me that life's only worth living if you're being loved by a kid. And I traveled all this way to rescue that toy because I believed him."
And shortly after, Woody realizes how important of a role he has to Andy, even if that role isn't going to last forever.
You're right, Prospector. I can't stop Andy from growing up. But I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Childhood isn't forever because nothing is forever. But just because certain experiences are temporary doesn't mean they're not worth experiencing. After all, being Andy's toy is what makes Woody feel alive. Not literally, as toys are still conscious in this universe despite being unloved, but a child's love, Andy's love, is what makes Woody feel ecstatic and overjoyed and utterly alive.
And when Andy plays with you, it's like, even though you're not moving, you feel like you're alive. Because that's how he sees you.
How did you know that?
According to director John Lasseter, toys are manufactured, put on this earth, to be played with by a child. That is the core essence of Toy Story. And Woody even reflects this sentiment when he's trying to get Jessie to come with him.
Come on, Jessie. This is what it's all about. To make a child happy. And you know it.
Really, Woody? That's what it's all about. To make a child happy. Okay, gotta focus again. Let's not get sidetracked by the wrong sequel. While I maintain that 2 is the best Toy Story film, Toy Story 3 is a sequel, or at least the sequel idea, that had the most reason for existing. After all, Toy Story 2 had talks about Andy growing up, but 3 is where we see Andy actually growing up and the toys having to deal with being outgrown. I think that's why barely anybody accuses Toy Story 3 of being a cash grab, aside from it being the sequel that started the trend of Pixar decade after sequels, of course. But Toy Story 3, on paper, makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Even the decade-plus gap between films makes sense. Making the sequel was a logical narrative choice for the franchise. So why do I hate it so much? I know, I'm in a serious minority here. Everyone loves this film, right? It was the perfect ending to a perfect trilogy. Not to me, it wasn't. Firstly, the events leading up to the toys ending up in daycare are just so ridiculous. I actually had to groan while watching all these incredible coincidences happening just to get the plot running. But probably the dumbest part is how none of the toys believe Woody when he tells them there's been a mistake.
So didn't you see? Andy threw us away.
No. He was putting you in the attic.
Attic? So how do we end up on the curb?
That was a mistake. You gotta believe me.
Sure thing, college boy.
Why? Why would Woody lie? In the first film, sure, Woody had been acting like a jealous prick. But in this one, why would he lie? You've all known each other for more than a decade. Why do you suddenly not trust him now? And then, the toys get trapped in daycare and the film becomes a prison escape movie. But their prison break plan relies so much on luck. My suspension of disbelief can only go so far, I say about a film starring talking toys. Like, how did the toys know the monkey would be too distracted to see Stinky sneaking out? And how did Rex and Piggy know Buzz would pull them out if they fought? And how did any of you know? How were any of you sure? How did you plan all this in one afternoon? But my biggest problem with the daycare escape plot is this. What does any of this have to do with moving on from Andy? When people talk about Toy Story 3, they usually talk about how much the ending made them cry. Like there wasn't an entire film before that. I'll tell you why people only ever talk about the ending. It's because the prison escape plot has nothing to do with the themes of the movie. Do they learn to appreciate Annie more because of their time at the daycare? Do they rediscover the lost joy of being played with by kids? No! The only toy who experiences that is Woody when he's with Bonnie. And he was the only toy that didn't want to leave Andy in the first place. So 90% of this movie is just filler. And yes, like all of you, I cried during the last scene. Of course I did. But that goodbye scene was built entirely off the momentum of the first two films. Pixar could have released that as a short and I would have still cried. So while many of you see this as a near-perfect film, I kinda see it as the beginning of the milking of the cash cow. Not as bad as Lightyear though. Or the other one. But that's still 9 years later. What's next on the list?
Everything is awesome.
When the Lego movie was announced, there was a lot of worry about the film being essentially one really long Lego commercial. When it was finally released, it turned out to be one really long Lego commercial, but a surprisingly excellent one. The movie follows a construction worker named Emmett, who lives in a world entirely of Lego. Through a series of circumstances, he meets a group of characters called the Master Builders, who can build anything from anything around them. In the Lego universe, this is a superpower. In the real world, this would be destruction of property. But it's essentially a commentary on why we play with Lego in the first place. And fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to go in a serious commercial narrator land here. The whole point of Lego is creation. And if you've ever played with Lego, you'll know how much fun it is to put the toy bricks together and make whatever enters your mind to make with the pieces. Lego encourages people to create, to build works of art by assembling bricks upon bricks upon bricks, and to be inspired by the things they love and make something out of it.
What I see are people inspired by each other and by you. People taking what you made and making something new out of it.
If you've seen this movie, you'll know the twist at the end is that the entire film actually takes place in an AFOS Lego set. And the story we're watching is coming from the imagination of his 8-year-old son.
Hi, Emmett.
I mean, for the most part, I guess. Most being around 60 or so %. The movie does take place 8.5 years after the prologue. But I find it hard to believe that an 8-year-old would know who all these characters are. Or that he'd be able to create such an elaborate storyline. That people would get outraged that it wasn't nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. I think the sequel explains this whole situation a lot better.
This isn't even happening. It's all just the expression of the death of imagination in the subconscious of an adolescent. I don't even understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the Lego movie is more of a metaphor than anything else. Lord Business is obviously meant to be Will Ferrell's character. But I seriously doubt he was playing make-believe like this in the prologue.
Now my evil power will be unlimited! Can you feel me?
I can feel you.
Woo!
Nor do I think Finn was imagining Emmett moving here, or a bunch of other things that happen in the film. Though, if it is all just symbolic, does that mean the Lego movie doesn't actually qualify for the toys coming to life genre? That's not to think too hard about it. At the end, Finn and his dad learn to reconnect through their shared love of Legos. And the characters of the Lego world learn that their ability to imagine and create is what makes them so unique and special. So reconnect with your family and explore your creativity with the power of Lego. Only $40.99 for a classic set with 484 bricks in 35 different colors.
Once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived on a planet that was scarcely bigger than himself, and who had need of a friend.
The Little Prince is another film where the third act wanders off into metaphor territory. If you've read the book but haven't seen the film, you're probably wondering what the title is doing here. And you're right. If it wasn't just the book, it wouldn't qualify at all. The movie, however, has this toy. The 2015 adaptation of The Little Prince adds the framing device of a little girl who befriends the old man next door. And that old man turns out to be the pilot who met the Little Prince. I guess this would make this a framing device within a framing device, since, in the events of the book, the prince tells the pilot the story of how we ended up on Earth. A story within a story within a story, so to speak. Anyway, the girl is pretty much an adult in a little kid's body, given her and her mom's obsession with academics and perfection. But when she meets the pilot, he tells her the story of the Little Prince over the course of a summer, reigniting her childhood curiosity and innocence along the way. One of the things that helps kickstart that is a stuffed fox the girl finds in the aviator's house, and it's also meant to represent the fox the prince meets and befriends.
Aw. What's your name, little fox?
Hey, I'm a fox. Talking about a toy fox representing a character fox. Moving along. For the first two acts, the fox isn't alive, though the girl does grow fonder and fonder of the toy throughout. But in the third act, the aviator gets hospitalized, and the girl sets off on the aviator's plane to find the little prince, along with her pilot companion, the now conscious toy fox.
Do you know how to fly a plane? Yeah, I didn't think so.
So what's going on here? Why is the toy fox now suddenly alive? And how is the girl able to fly into space and onto a different planet? Well, anyone who's read The Little Prince knows the book ends in a really somber way. His body is too heavy, so he asks the snake to bite him so he can go back to his home planet. Is this him dying? It's all up to interpretation. But his body does disappear the next day, and the aviator believes he made it back to his planet. In the movie, the aviator admits he doesn't know for sure if the prince came back, and this angers the little girl.
Well, it is as he said. I look at the stars, and I hear him laughing.
But you don't know for sure. I wish you had never told me this stupid story!
So her search for the prince after the aviator might die could be her way of not just processing everything she's currently going through, but also remembering everything her summer with the aviator and the little prince taught her. About imagination, about growing up, about what it means to be an adult and not forget.
Growing up is not the problem. Forgetting is.
You've forgotten everything!
I'm very busy with matters of consequence.
You've become just another grown-up!
Give me that.
The next morning, the girl goes to visit the aviator, and lo and behold, the fox is back to being a still toy again. The girl also gives the aviator a book-binded version of his writings and drawings, which, if she spent all night trying to find the little prince, no way would she have had the time to do that. Here's my theory. The entire time we see the girl on her journey, that was actually her imagination at work, as she put together the aviator's book and shifted through the story's drawings and pages. And her toy fox is with her along the way because A, she got it from the aviator, B, it was one of the first things that helped her remember what it felt like to be a child again, and C, it was her friend the way the fox was a friend to the prince.
He wasn't your pet, he was your friend!
It's actually really surprising how much the next film mirrors this one.
What was that?
I said, hello!
Well, we've been talking for a while. I'm not sure why you're saying hello now, but fine. Hello to you.
The Lego Movie 2, the second part, was the first of 3 toy films that came out in 2019, and the 4th in the Lego Movie franchise. Unfortunately, the 3 installments before it just kept making less and less money. And while the Lego Movie 2 did make more money than the Ninjago movie, it was still considered a box office disappointment, and the franchise has since been in a 6-year slumber. Which is a shame, because the Lego Movie 2 is a pretty good sequel. It doesn't surpass the original, not by a long shot. But it still boasts some really funny jokes.
5:15? Well, if you say 5, people show up at 5:15 anyway, and if you say 6, people start expecting dinner. It's a whole thing.
Catchical musical numbers? Hell, one of the songs is even titled Catchy Song. An exploration of themes in a welcomely more nuanced way than the first film. More nuanced, not more successful. I just want to clarify that. Because audiences going in already know that these characters are just toys, the film plays around with its metaphorical nature a lot more. And I mean a lot more. The first film could easily work without the twist, and with a few adjustments to the script. But the Lego Movie 2 is absolutely built upon the idea that these characters are Finn's playthings. See, at the end of the first film, Finn's sister starts playing in the basement too. So the Lego toys and Duplo toys are now at war. A metaphor for sibling rivalry and miscommunication? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out, that's for sure. The war lasts for about 5 years. But all the while, Emmett still hasn't lost his upbeat and positive attitude.
Emmett, you gotta stop pretending everything is awesome. It isn't. That song was fine when we were younger, but we also have to grow up sometime.
This eventually causes him to accidentally allow the sisters' toys to sneak in and kidnap the main master builders. Everyone taunts him for this and his naive softness, so it sets off to rescue his friends, and meets a badass adventurer named Rex Dasher. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean Rex Dangervest. Who the hell is Rex Dasher? Who helps him become a tougher and harder version of himself.
I grew up, just like you wanted.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Thought you'd be more excited.
Me too.
Anyway, it turns out that the sisters' toys were good all along, and just wanted to connect with Finn's toys.
All we want to do is unite our worlds in peace.
Why didn't you guys just tell us that?
We tried. The queen sang a whole song about how not evil she was.
That was the truth? You guys are terrible communicators. Wait, if you guys are good, then who's the bad guy?
Yeah, the sequel insists that Rex is actually Emmett. A future version of Emmett, that is.
I'm you, from the future, all grown up.
Who traveled back in time to get revenge on the characters who forgot him and left him alone. And this is where the film gets very Little Princey.
My advice is stick to arithmetic,
history, and grammar.
I took their advice, and I grew up.
It's time to put away childish things. No.
He wasn't your pet. He was your friend.
What, does it look like I have time for friends? My friends may not be real to you, but they're real to me.
I will grow up, and I'll never be a grown-up like you!
I'll never grow up to be like you.
Not that I mind or anything. If your toy film is going to share themes with any movie, The Little Prince is a pretty great film to film that role.
It's easy to harden your heart, but to open it, that's the toughest thing you can do.
The Lego Movie 2 isn't as tight or well written as its predecessor, but I greatly appreciated its message about the dangers of losing your inner child and becoming bitter and cynical the more you grow up. Any film that celebrates compassion, optimism, and kindness as important traits for any human to have gets an approval from me.
I'm gonna grow up, but I won't stop caring about the people in my life. And they may see the world differently. That's not bad. I think it's inspiring.
As Will Arnett said about the sequel, you know, as we get older, we live in a world where it's encouraged to remove childlike qualities and toughen kids up for the real world. I get that. But don't lose that sense of childlike wonderment. Don't lose their playful side. These are good traits for children to have. We shouldn't be so quick to beat it out of them. Becoming an adult means realizing that everything's not awesome. Things can't be awesome all of the time. It's an unrealistic expectation, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Well, we just talked about a good but not great sequel. Why don't we tackle a truly terrible one next? Toy Story 4 is a sequel that feels like it was written by people who had never seen a Toy Story film beforehand. Which I know can't be true because Andrew Stanton literally wrote the first film, so maybe the writers just forgot these scenes.
Over in that house is a kid who thinks you are the greatest, and it's not because you're a space ranger, pal. It's because you're a toy. You are his toy.
Somewhere in that pat of stuffing is a toy who taught me that life's only worth living if you're being loved by a kid.
Besides, when it all ends, I'll have old Buzz Lightyear to keep me company.
But we've always said this job isn't about getting played with, it's about
being there for Andy. We know.
Even if you've never seen Toy Story 4, you probably already know by now that Woody leaves Bonnie at the end and chooses to become a lost toy. Yes, it is now canon that in the Toy Story universe, toys can just choose to become ownerless and be perfectly happy doing so. Which would mean Woody's Roundup gang could have been perfectly happy being museum pieces, and Andy's toys might have actually been better off living in the attic. After all, it's not like the entire franchise was built on the emotional backbone that ownership is the most important thing in a toy's life. Where would you get that idea? I know many people see this ending as symbolic of parenthood and trying to find your purpose after your kid grows up and starts being independent.
Nobody wants this.
I do.
Why?
Because.
Why? Why?
Because it's all I have left to do. Bonnie needs Forky.
No, you need Bonnie.
But I just can't vibe with that reading because A, parents don't just up and leave their kids forever once they leave the nest. B, Bonnie is only in kindergarten when Woody decides to leave her. And C, these characters aren't humans, they're toys. If we judge their relationships to their owners by human standards, it would actually be very toxic given that the toys stay loyal to their kids even when they've been ignored by them forever. But we don't do that because they are toys.
You are a child's plaything!
Probably the most annoying thing about this ending is that the film could still work without it, especially since the film still confusingly promotes the importance of ownership despite the ending.
Can we agree on just one thing?
What?
That being there for a child is the most noble thing a toy can do.
Okay.
Like, if they made a few changes to the script and the movie ended with, I don't know, Bo becoming Bonnie's toy instead or something, the film could still work. It wouldn't make it a good film, but at least it'd be a less frustrating one. Woody leaving feels like it was put there to justify the existence of a Toy Story 4 and not have it be seen as just a cash cow film. After all, director Josh Cooley did say, it was important that it felt like Toy Story 4 wasn't just another adventure. It had to have meaning to it, so that it left as important as the last one. What else is there to say about this movie? Not a lot, because it is actually very boring. Bo Peep is back, but this must be a different Bo Peep because she acts completely different even before she got lost. You know, Bo not being in Toy Story 3 was actually one of the few things I liked about it. It showed that a toy's life is actually really tragic at times, and filled with so many occurrences that are simply out of their control. If the toys now have free will, it begs the question, why even pretend to not be alive to begin with? After all, if toys get lost all the time...
You know, kids lose their toys every day. Kids lose toys every day. Bonnie'll get over it.
What purpose do these lost toys have to 100% live in hiding? Why not have the world evolve into a future where toys and humans coexist? Wouldn't that be a Toy Story sequel? Also, Buzz acts like an idiot, even if it's been like 16 years since he discovered he was a toy.
Boy Simulator! Is a secret mission in uncharted space. Is a secret mission in uncharted space. And best of all!
So your inner voice advises you.
It's a secret mission in uncharted space.
Bo and Woody's romance is unconvincing, the antagonist gets forgiven immediately because she has a sob story, and now they're making a Toy Story 5. Dear Neptune.
Once upon a time, there was an 18-year-old human... Oh, come on, Marla, just be normal.
The Playmobil movie starts the way you would expect it to, of course. With 2 dead parents and 2 newly orphaned kids. Okay, it doesn't start that way exactly. It actually begins with this preppy as heck musical number by Anya Taylor-Joy. All about how she wants to travel the world and go on adventures with her brother and not want to live a boring life.
Nothing worse than a small, stationary life. Dollsville.
Then, because this film wants to give you tonal whiplash, the very next scene is them finding out that their parents, both their parents, mind you, have died in a car accident.
Yes? I'm sorry, but there's been an accident.
I actually couldn't believe my eyes and ears at this point. Where did this plot point come from? Sonya's character Marla becomes distant and hardened after her parents die. She did have to give up her dreams to take care of her brother, of course. One night, the brother sneaks away from home and into a toy museum with a Playmobil exhibit of all things. And Marla finds him and they have a fight.
Nothing's worse than a small, stationary life.
But I grew up, Charlie, and I learned the hard way that life is not an adventure.
And through stuff happening, the two get transported into a world of Playmobil. And I hate to say this, but this film really isn't all that bad. It's fun, okay? I had fun watching it. I especially had fun with the Rex Dasher scenes, who is a secret agent who helps Marla and is also voiced by Daniel Radcliffe.
Surprise! Rex Dasher.
Rex Dasher!
Rex Dangervest. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Rex Dasher. Who the hell is Rex Dangervest? Is 100% the highlight of this film.
We're heading into dangerous territory, both with the villains and your feelings for me.
And I'm saddened to know he wasn't a pre-existing character in the Playmobil universe, with a ton of other media I could consume. But I also found myself enjoying Marla's companion, Dex.
Have a nice life! I'm saying that sarcastically!
And was pleasantly surprised when the movie ended and they didn't become a couple, but genuine friends.
I guess this is goodbye. What?
That was surprisingly sweet and refreshing. By the end, Marla and her brother make it back to the real world, where 0 time has passed. And Marla finds her passport is filled with stamps from all the Playmobil places she had been to. Here again, we have toys being the pathway for a cynical character to rediscover their innocence and bring back joy and imagination into their lives. Which is a theme that always seems to get to me. While I do still think the orphan angle was a way too heavy choice for this film, I just can't hate a film that celebrates adopting a positive outlook, no matter how tough life becomes, even if it does come across as artificial at times. That said, I do hate the way these characters move. They're supposed to be plastic toys, why do they move like humans? And finally, we come to our very last film.
I'm only your favorite woman of all time, Barbie!
Barbie is a mostly fine movie, but it's also pretty aimless at times and it's overcrowded with subplots left and right, none of them really getting a satisfying conclusion. Hell, so much happens in the third act that a character ends up having to go,
Hey, what about Barbie?
What do you mean?
What's her ending?
Yeah, remember? Barbie? The titular character and the one this movie is supposed to be about? The concept of Barbie Land also doesn't make a lot of sense, which the movie openly admits.
Yes, Aaron. Is Barbie Land like an alternate reality, or is it like a place where your imagination...
Yes.
Okay, think of it as a town in Sweden.
All throughout the movie, I just had all these questions, like, is Margot Robbie's Barbie meant to represent all stereotypical Barbies, or just one person's? If it's the latter and we just don't see the other stereotypical Barbies, then why is there only one Alan?
There are no multiples of Alan. He's just Alan.
Yeah, I'm confused about that.
Pretty sure they made more than just one doll of him. And is Gloria the very first Barbie owner to feel sad and confused? and transfer that onto her doll? And if Barbie herself becomes human, wouldn't that, I don't know, make every Barbie like her in the world disappear or something?
Weird, I know. Best if you don't think about it too much.
Best not to think about it too much indeed. That isn't to say nothing about the movie works. Actually, a lot of things about it do work. The movie can be very funny at times. The cast is all in, and the twist of Gloria being Barbie's owner rather than her daughter Sasha is a really welcome one in the genre.
I came for you!
Every story we've had so far focuses on kids loving toys. So it's really cute how Barbie shows how an adult can still find comfort and enjoyment in playing with a toy, and how Gloria doesn't seem the least bit embarrassed about being an adult Barbie lover.
Let's go get my doll.
And, of course, much like Toy Story 3, despite how I felt about the rest of the movie, the ending still managed to make me cry. I started this video asking the question, why do we play with toys? But I'm ending it with a movie that goes even further and asks, why do we make toys in the first place? What were toys made for? Toys are essentially ideas, and many ideas were put into this world to help humans deal with the confusing nature of existence. Movies, books, games, music, art, YouTube videos, and toys all help us process the messiness of being human.
It's okay if you're crying. I cried too. It's actually kind of amazing.
And as a writer myself, what Barbie says to Ruth at the end really got to me.
I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense, Barbie. Imagining is one of the greatest things humans can do. Marjorie Williams, the author of The Velveteen Rabbit, died in 1944. And yet, 81 years after her death, her book remains one of the most iconic children's books of all time. And look at how many stories were most likely inspired by it. That's the thing about ideas. Humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. And so we come to the end of this video, where we have to say goodbye.
Goodbye? Oh no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Sorry, Pooh. But all stories have an ending, you know.
Indeed, all stories must have an ending. And so must all YouTube videos. But I think we have enough to answer that question we began with. Why do we play with toys? Sometime during the creation of this video, I had stepped into a store selling a bunch of stuffed toys. And the minute I went near them, I found myself loving and wanting to hug all of them. But then I thought, why? I just met these toys. I've never played with any of them. And I have no plans on buying a single one. When Lotso in Toy Story 3 gets replaced with another Lotso, it's implied that her owner loved her new teddy bear just as much as she loved her old one. So it wasn't really the individual toy she loved. Rather, it was what that toy symbolized. Ultimately, I think that toys are essentially a projection of who we are as human beings. When we personify toys, we put into them a part of ourselves, and make them be who or what we need them to be. Toys are our companions when we feel lonely. They're our doors to other worlds when we feel like playing make-believe. And for adults, they're reminders to always hold on to your inner child, no matter how old you become. After all, playing with toys is really something only kids can do, whether that be an actual kid or a kid at heart. Thank you so much for watching this video! Leave a comment down below and let me know if I missed any of your favorite talking toy stories. I didn't add any horror movie ones for obvious reasons, but if there was one that you thought deserved to be in this list despite the genre, let me know down below. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next video.